So at this point, I'll call it Darrell now.
Thank you, Nate. My name is Gary Rogers, and I'm a local business owner in Newcastle, Indiana. And I had planned on bringing 3 emails today. I'm only bringing 2, and I'm out. We recently had a FOIA request for a little over 3,000 pages, I believe it was. And among those 3,000 pages was 2 emails about property sales in Henry County, both from Corey Murphy to all of you and the commissioners and some others. One was about the sale of my property. One was about the sale of David Herring's property. We looked through the rest of those 3,000 pages and a whole bunch of the emails looking for an analysis of all of the property sales in Henry County in that time period. Shockingly enough, it was only David Herring's property and my property. The facts were given. I don't know if you saw the articles in the newspaper. The facts were given, but the emails were misleading because they didn't include all the facts. You know, the truth, all the truth, nothing but the truth. You got truth, but not all the truth. And so the recommendation or the finding of those emails was not nothing but the truth. So I have a couple other emails that I would like to share with you. I would love to have brought more, but I don't have any more of those. So let's give you an email from Darren Jacobs, or an email exchange between Darren Jacobs and Derek Ryman of Calpine. And this is from last July when we were having a bunch of meetings on the industrial wind turbine issue. And Darren writes to Derek, any thought on this before I send it back out to the committee? The meeting procedure for August 4th. Meeting will begin at 6 p.m. and will proceed almost immediately into public comments. Sign-up sheets will be available prior to the meeting for those who wish to present information to the committee. There will be 2 sign-up sheets, one for individuals who wish to express concerns about the current WEX ordinance, and one for individuals who wish to express support of the current WEX ordinance. Those opposed will speak during the first half of the meeting. Those in support will speak during the second half of the meeting. And he goes on with some more details. So these read from the bottom of the page up, the way emails go. The oldest is at the bottom. And then Derek writes back to him. In the past, I have been involved in public meetings where there is a sign-in sheet that all attendees can sign with the 2 sets of check boxes, for, against, and testify, not testify, to better capture the positions of all the people in the audience. What's interesting to me is that these meetings were supposed to be open meetings for the people of Henry County. And here we have an employee of Henry County consulting with an employee of an industrial wind energy company about our procedures and processes, and trying to rely on his understanding of how public hearings, public meetings are supposed to be held. There is a level of bad behavior that we're finding in the FOIA requests, the ones I brought before, the ones I'm bringing tonight. There's a level of bad behavior that runs through our county government, which when brought before, at the last county council meeting, somebody said something about it looks crooked, which was then reported in the paper. It looks crooked, doesn't it?
Mr. Rogers,
And then the next,
the emails here that you, with the back and forth with Darren Jacobs, the statements you made, I kind of got lost when you read the statements.
it reads from
And
the
then
bottom.
I understand how emails read. And then you said, then you went immediately from him just advising this guy and discussing how normal procedures go at the meetings he's been to. To me, it was a suggestive manner. And then all of a sudden, you jumped from there to bad behavior to the meeting from last month.
Yes.
Why?
Want me to tie it together?
Yeah, tie that together. What point does
Certainly
this
will.
email have to do with bad behavior?
Sure, I will. Because at the time, there was a lot of public concern about how these meetings were being held, about how people were being limited to a very short period of time to discuss an extremely complicated issue, being limited to short periods of time to give an abundance of information, and the perception that it was really just a front anyway. Okay, we gave you your 3 minutes, now shut up and go away, because we're gonna do our business the way we're gonna do our business, and we're not doing our business with you, Henry County residents, we're doing our business with Calhoun.
So the reason you bring up Darren Jacobs in these emails is because in your perception, the perception is that that's what Darren Jacobs is saying?
It is in fact my perception
Okay.
that Darren was working closely with an outside company to determine how to run Henry County business, rather than working with people in Henry County to figure that out.
Okay.
And so if I go on to the next one, if you let me go to the next one. At the time of the WEX committee, in July of 2016, the WEX committee failed, abject failure. WEX committee was supposed to be an open review of industrial wind turbine issues, from which there was to come some recommendations for what to do with the ordinance. We've now gone through a whole other bit of going through the ordinance. And there have been hundreds and hundreds of hours involved. Lots of people have been paid, except for 2 of us, to be a part of that. And a lot of that was based on the fact that the WEX committee failed. The WEX committee failed because the moderator, Darren Jacobs, was working with, instead of having an open conversation and figuring out what to do, Darren Jacobs writes off to Derek Ryman, my recommendation for revisions to the setback portion of the ordinance: zoning districts are out, 1.1 to property line and 1,000 feet to dwelling, our term for a residential structure. Cleaned up the language about setbacks for municipalities not under my jurisdiction. I would imagine there will be pushback from this. This hopefully gives the committee a little wiggle room to expand from my initial recommendation if they see a need. I'll be making this recommendation Thursday. And then Derek writes back some of his recommendations. That WEX committee was supposed to be set up so that people of Henry County could talk about what we want, not what Darren or what Derek Ryman wants. We know what Derek Ryman wants. It was set up because the WEX ordinance is there to protect the non-participating property owners in Henry County, not to protect the wind energy companies, not to protect the participating property owners. They have a contract to protect that. This is bad behavior because Darren said in a number of public meetings that it was going to be all open, all honest, all out in the open, which it was not. And then, one other thing.
Can I say something, Mr. Rogers, while we're on the subject of bad behavior?
Pardon me?
Could I say something while we're on the subject of bad behavior?
Yes, sir, you're welcome to.
Okay. As you well know, I was on that first WEX committee.
I am well aware.
Back when. And it was a lynch mob. You heard people stand up, say, Duggar's been bought and paid for. People walk out. People say to me from the audience that I'm in their pocket. God in heaven knows. I've not received $1 a Thrive, or anything. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on nothing social media. I don't even have, there is a email for me here for the county that I have never used. Bad behavior, people coming to my house, turning around in my driveway, pestering me out on the road where I live. That's bad behavior as well. And you were probably here and heard the outbursts, the comments, and all that was made toward me. I think that was bad behavior. This is the
course you
first
did.
time I've said anything about it, but I was up to my ears in bad behavior. I
Okay,
don't think I should have been treated that way in the meeting, and that was pure bad behavior, the comments. Mr. Morgan was followed out one night and threatened out here. And if it hadn't been for the police stepping in, who knows what would have happened. That's bad behavior. And I can go on and on a lot more, but since you're up here talking about bad behavior, I want you to know that, you know, this is the first time I've seen any of this or heard of any of this. There has been a lot of bad behavior.
there has been a lot of bad behavior in the government in Henry County, and that's one of the problems that we're getting into as we look through all of the emails and the documents that we're getting under these Freedom of Information Act requests. And it really is a challenge. I believe that the level of cronyism and the good old boy, you know, the decisions are made in the back room, and the public really never really has a shot at it. And so one of the other issues is, oh sure, she would like to respond to you.
Okay.
There definitely has been a lot of bad behavior on all of the sides. During the Recs Committee, I came into this, I thought I'd just skip up to the courthouse last May and see what was going on. And I didn't know anything about local government. I didn't know the process. I didn't even know what district I lived in. I had a lot to learn. And I was surprised as this all unfolded how bad behavior it was on all sides. One of the things about the emails that upset me the most is we would sit and we would study and we would decide what was our 3 minutes. We finally learned through the grapevine that we had 3 minutes to speak. We had no idea what the day was going to be, what the layout was going to be. It wasn't until we got here to see in the emails that there was lots of discussion going on with the Calpine, J agreement and other things where we were kind of left in the dark. That was very upsetting. I have been told throughout this whole process to trust in the process, to let it work. But when you see things like this, you have to ask yourself, where is the process going? And who all is involved? And are we really giving a fair shake in this process? And yes, I don't agree with some of the bad behavior that was displayed towards you. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you were on. You don't deserve to be treated that way. But you also have to see, too, we didn't understand what was going on. And as it unfolded, it didn't appear as if it was in our best interest. So when you see these things, yes, emotionally everybody bursts out. And it's kind of childlike. But it's understandable to a degree, because we've been left in the dark. And I have to say, I wasn't all that thrilled to watch you as an auctioneer that night to come back with a recommendation that was less than what's in our current ordinance. So it did kind of appear as if all the research and all the participation that we attempted to do was all in vain, because it ended up less than what it originally is now. So you have to understand, as quote laymen that don't understand the process, that we're just trying to skip along here and participate. When we see these emails and we see all the things going on, it's not only perplexing, but it's very disheartening. Because the majority of us that have been speaking and working hard for this, we are the ones that will be living in the wind projects. And that's our lifestyle. That's everything that we've invested in, that we've chosen to be in nature, and we have concerns about it. And I would think that would be understandable. Whether some of us behave poorly or respectfully or whatever, in the end, is it really going to make a difference? That is very concerning.
Okay, so, stretch that out one. This is a map of Henry County, and it's truly a one of a kind unless it's been redone since I did this. It's an educational piece supported by a group called Responsible Wind. And this map is done from Henry County's data through the GIS department. Bruce was very kind in explaining stuff, so really I give commendation to him. I do have some concerns about the source data because in the source data, to a person, with the exception of one person, everyone who has looked at this map has said it's missing some. So let me tell you what it is. These gold or tan and the brown parts, that's R1, that's residential. So it's in the town or it's a subdivision like here, a subdivision out in the country. The hot pink is rural residential. The red is those properties that can be identified that would be or could be rural residential if our ordinance administrator did work that is hard work that takes a long time. In a public hearing, he claims that if it's hard work, it takes a long time, he just doesn't do it. Like making the rural residential properties actually rural residential. Now, with our source data, it's very difficult to tell what is exactly rural residential and what fits into these plans, yes?
Excuse me, Gary, I don't mean to interrupt, but what is the orange? What are the orange areas?
This orange,
Yeah, I see yellow.
that is R1, those are subdivisions.
Okay, outside of city limits.
Outside the city limits in the county,
Okay,
those are subdivisions, okay? So, with the exception of one, everyone who has looked closely at this map has said, oh, well, you missed a whole bunch here. Here's a whole bunch of properties that are less than 20 acres and have a house. So I would suggest that this is maybe 40 to 60%. At the outside, probably 60% of the rural residential. The comprehensive plan, if you look at the maps in the final draft of the comprehensive plan, if you look at all the maps that are shown to everybody around the industrial wind turbine issues, they show the entire county as green. It's all just open agricultural property. It's wide open property. Nobody out there. The reason you have people dressed in white, furious, exhibiting some less than good behavior, is because there are all these people who live out in the county who've been told to the wind energy companies that they're either not there or they don't matter. They're non-participating property owners, but oh yeah, go ahead and put it 1,000 feet from their house. Trespass zoning, so they'd have to have a variance to build onto their own homes. And then in the comprehensive plan, the final draft, a recommendation to have rural residential be 20 acres to have a house in the county, which means that all of these people would now be living on variance land. And in order to add on, they'd have to have a variance, where now at 1.5 acres, they can build without a variance. So all of these people get disenfranchised. None of this is shown to anybody. I apologize. Kim said he looked at this data online or on the computer system. So, and even knowing that, we don't have any commitment from anybody to protect all these people. And then when Jim McShirley was here last time, we got the comment of, looks crooked, doesn't it? And so I went to Councilman Morgan, went to his place of work to say, I have more information, would love to show it to you. Councilman Morgan says, not interested. I don't want to be involved. Councilman Morgan, you are involved by sitting in that chair, and you either get involved or get out of the chair.
You come over here, gentlemen, unless you want me to tell you exactly what I said and what I
And
meant,
then when I
and
pressed
what
it for a
the
meeting,
perception that you took
When
of what I
Gary,
said, because you've made a few comments today where your
when I
perception
asked him for a
is
meeting, I
slightly
got a
wrong.
resounding maybe.
Okay,
And
gentlemen,
no
just
follow-up.
change the subject at this point, okay? Move on from
subject.
that subject.
Actually, I don't want to change, if I'm permitted, because I'd like to be able to say exactly what I said and what I meant. This gentleman came to my place of business while I was working, providing for my family with my customers. You come in, standing there, and you say, I would like to invite you to my office to show you a map, correct?
That's correct, I did.
And I said, I smiled, no, you said correct. I smiled, and I said maybe.
Actually, before that,
And
he
then-
said, I don't want to be involved.
No, that came after. I smiled and said maybe, and you looked at me and said maybe, and I said, look, I don't want to get involved in that. I said, I just want to do my job, and I want to let everyone else do their jobs. That was my statement. Now, however you perceive that, I don't know. Because in human mentality, perception is truth to us, whether our perception is accurate, right, or wrong. To us, it is truth. Now, my perception of what came out of my mouth, knowing what I meant to you, knowing that when you left, you would go shout it on the mountain and misrepresent me, what I meant was, but I didn't have time to explain because I was doing my business, taking care of my customers, was that I'm on the council. This council has the responsibility of the fiscal health of this county. And as you can tell already by this meeting, there's various things that happen on an ongoing basis that sometimes gets confusing, and sometimes things that we don't quite understand happen. And so that is our main job, and we're trying to figure that out. When it comes to wind farms, as I've stated before, and as everyone in this room knows, the council's sole responsibility on wind farms has to do with the tax abatement. That is it. We can shout like you, we can get mad like you, we can raise Cain like you, and as in the last meeting, when my perception, and I said it looks crooked, doesn't it? You know why I said that, Mr. Rogers? Because I understand that even though I know what's happening on some of these issues behind the scenes, that's not really that crooked, it's just people trying to do their jobs. I understand that when it comes out in the public the way that it did, I understand how your perception would be that it looks crooked. Because, frankly, it did. When you say you want open, honest opinions from everyone, and we're going to go from point A to point Z, and then you stop at M and change it, I can understand from your side how you would see that as crooked, as mischievous, as done in a smoky back room. I understand. So please understand my perception. I personally am tired of this. It has been going on before I was even on the council. It did not become such an emotional issue until just a few years ago. I have friends on both sides, as we all do, that have been mistreated, lied about, strung through the mud in ways that should have never happened. This county is going to fall apart unless we, the people, can stand up for each other, honestly and openly, reverently with each other, and understand the perceptions on both sides. It does you no good to come in here and to begin to accuse me personally and attack me personally on something that you have no idea on what my perception was. Your attack is solely based on your perception. Now, Mr. Rogers, you've been involved in this process for a very long time. I would say that almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can't get your mind off of it. For that, I feel sorry for you. I have committed that when this tax abatement comes before this council, I will vote no. I have said it, I have said it, I have said it. Beyond that, that is my job. My job is not to tell the commissioners what to do. My job is not to tell Darren Jacobs what to do. My job is not to tell Corey Murphy what to do. And my job is not to tell you what to do. So you will do your part, the commissioners will do theirs, Darren his, Corey his, and I will do mine. But my part is none other than the tax abatement. And to that, Mr. Rogers, I commit to you, right now. It's being recorded. I will vote no on a tax abatement. And I apologize to you if my statement to you in my place of business was not satisfactory to you. Thank you.
Thank you for your commitment.
10 minutes remaining.
Okay. And so, but, thank you. My concern, which underlies all of our government, and it is our government, and even though I no longer live in the county, my business is still in the county, I'm a renter in the county, and as this county goes, so goes my business. 90% or more of my clients live in this county, and so success for Henry County is something near and dear to my heart. And having levels of what I perceive as corruption in our county government, these emails, the emails I brought to the commissioners the last few commissioner meetings, the problems that Mr. McShirley has brought, the problems that you recognize by looking at this map where the county has been truly misrepresented as open agriculture when in fact it's a really great agricultural county with a lot of rural residential, or a rural residential county with a lot of agriculture. Mr. Murphy was talking about bringing businesses here to reduce people's commutes. That would be awesome. What the comprehensive plan, I predict that the comprehensive plan, if it goes through as it is in its final draft form, will in fact drive people out of the county because it urges them to drive them out of the rural part of the county into the municipalities. They're not going to come to Newcastle. They're going to go closer to their jobs. And so that is a disaster waiting to happen. But we have an undercurrent of cronyism, especially on the industrial wind turbine issue, and potentially on other issues that really has to be cleaned up. And it takes attention from every level of government, continuing to look into it and keeping each other honest in order to keep our county healthy. And I urge you to do it.
I've been on council for 27 years, I believe. I've never seen this cronyism that everybody, and I never have seen anything underhanded. Honest to God, I haven't. Maybe I'm a little naive.
I believe that it has not been recognized, sir. I do. It depends on which side of it you're on.
I'm on Henry County side.
I certainly hope so. I appreciate that.
I absolutely am.
I have a question. It's no attack or anything, nothing like that. I've not looked at the first thing. I've seen one thing that my middle son Seth showed me, and it was on the internet, web. I don't know where, but he showed me a map. There was the map, and it was over a year ago. And I'm going to a question that explaining to you what I saw. And someone had posted a map of wind turbines, and where I live, it had 3 of them in the field right across my house. And